Hey guys, my name's Derek Smith. I'm a chef slash line cook. I've been doing that for about 5 years. Yeah, I'm gonna be reacting to some videos here. So let's go.
Hello, I'm Onika, and I'm a level
Hello,
1
Monica.
chef.
I'm Lorenzo, and I'm a level 2 chef.
I'm Frank. I'm a chef instructor at the Institute of Culinary Education, and I've been
Yeah, so Institute of Culinary Education, that's a pretty expensive slash high-end school there. So yeah, pretty cool.
professionally for 24 years.
This pork chop is something that I don't cook that often, but when I do, my family loves it.
I'm Filipino, you guys. We love pork. This is actually really almost picture perfect pork chops. You're in for something
yeah.
today.
My favorite thing about pork chops, especially pork chops on the bone, is this nice layer of meat in between the fat. But to ensure that they're super juicy, we're going to brine them first.
Yeah, brining is definitely the way to go. Usually I do a dry brine. I just put salt in and let it sit in the fridge, and it will leach out some moisture, but also penetrate with some salt into the meat and keep it seasoned first off, but also moist inside somehow. Some science stuff I don't understand, but it works.
So what I'm using today is the center cut pork chop. It's boneless. It's about a ½ inch thick. You don't want to get a thick.
Yeah, this is something you'll find in grocery stores all the time. Pretty generic. But yeah.
Pork chop because it's going to be too big and it's going to dry out. You don't want that.
Please give me a center cut, bone in, inch thick at least.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this guy. At least an inch thick. What I like to do actually is get it thicker than that, maybe maybe a little more than that, just 2.5 inches, and actually pound it down to the inch thick, and therefore it's more tender, and it's more even. You know, if it's uneven at all, you can kind of level it out that way. But yeah, more even across, and it actually tenderizes it a little bit. So that's kind of two benefits there.
Pork chop. You want something fat. This will just protect it from overcooking.
Today we're using Berkshire pork chops. This is a fatty pig.
It's nice.
It's a heritage breed pig. This one is lovingly cared for, fed really good feed and food, and then served up to us.
First, we're going to start with the pepper. Get it on both sides. What I normally do is I let them kiss to make it out. Okay. Just a pinch of salt.
I will do both sides with these lovely easy peasy seasonings. Again, lightly season.
Now, sprinkle some cayenne, and then Old Bay glass.
When it comes to a really nice piece of meat like this, I don't want to do a marinade on this. I want to taste the pork. So, one thing that I like to do is do a brine. Basically, a brine is just a salty solution of water, spices, and herbs. So the brine on top of the fat on this pork chop is going to ensure that it's juicy.
No one would not brine a pork chop. I would brine a pork butt.
So I'm going to start off with my water. Apple.
Yeah, you definitely. I'd brine it if I had the time. I usually don't, just because I don't plan ahead when I cook at home. But if you were to plan ahead, you want ultimate pork chop, I would do a dry brine. Like I said, just putting salt on top of it and then putting it in a rack in the fridge overnight.
Your vinegar goes in, light brown sugar, salt, a bay leaf, some black peppercorns, and
Also, it's a
chili.
good time to introduce some flavor
I'm
with
going to let it
this
start to
brine.
come to a simmer, and while that's getting hot, I'm actually just going to take my time, break it in half, and then I'm going to get some garlic. This goes right in.
So now you want this to sit for about 10 minutes just so the spices can just ease on down the road into the pork chop.
You can see it came to a boil. Give it one last stir, and now we chill it down.
Some people like to put it in a wet marinade and let it sit, but I think that this is the best way to do it.
I need to marinate in my traditional ingredients. My friend, I love garlic. Moving on to the Thai chilies. We'll just mince again. Mince.
Yeah, those are powerful
Thai
there,
chili
bud.
peppers have just enough heat for me to actually enjoy the chili peppers as well as the pork itself.
Today we're going to be frying these babies up, but before that I have to work on my coating. I'm gonna season my flour with some black pepper, more Obey. So my secret sauce is Obey seasoning. Normally people use it for seafood, but it's great on meat. Whisk it around.
I love pepper, and yes, I'm also adding actual peppercorns. That's very traditional in Filipino cooking. Beautiful ginger powder spice, brown sugar, yummy, yummy, yummy. Apple cider vinegar, of course, soy sauce. Again, see, this is where the salt comes into play. Oyster sauce. So this is another salty bit right here. It will add some serious zing and beautiful flavor. Lemon lime soda, which will help the carbonation, and the acid helps.
You know, I never marinate anything in soda. I've never tried it, but I don't know. It seems really weird to me. I wouldn't want to eat it if it tasted like Sprite. So I don't know. Use lime or something else that actually has flavor. It's a real flavor. I feel like you have better luck that way. But yeah, everything else he's put in seems good. Lots of sugar, so he has to be careful with burning if he's going to grill it.
The meat.
So just beat up your egg, beat it up. So we're gonna coat it one time with flour. Make sure that you get it all. And then we're gonna take it and we're gonna dip it in the egg wash. It's getting pretty. You good? Yep. I feel like I wanna dip it once more.
So yeah, this is a pretty generic way, really common way, and probably one of the better ways of judging something. You put it in flour, you go in the egg, and then you go back in the flour, or you can put it into breadcrumbs. If you want some breadcrumb dredge, it's the same thing. And then if you can do that multiple times until it's thick enough, you know, maybe 1 to 2 times is usually what you need, all you need. So yeah.
I like to dredge them because it gives it a crispy, thick coating. Why have a fried food if you don't have the crunch? You want the crunch in it.
Okay, the marinade is ready for company. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna allow these fun little pork chops to join the party and have a little summer swim.
Nice pork chops.
Into the lovely, jubbly, spicy, and sweet marinade.
I like to brine in a Ziploc bag, and here's the reason. If I try and take these pork chops and put them in a bowl, only a certain amount of my brine, I'm going to need double the amount of brine, is going to cover my pork chops. But, as you see, if I take these and put them in a bag, and I pour my brine over, and I can squeeze out most of the air, they get totally covered by the brine.
Yeah, this is a great way to do it. If you have a way of doing like a vacuum bag, that's probably even better because there's no air to get in the way of, you know, coating with brine. That's probably the best way. This is obviously just as good. I mean, you can always go overboard with it, but yeah, awesome. I do this all the time with different things. If it's you know, chicken or anything like that in the bag, and make sure you always put something underneath if you put it in the fridge, because you're gonna have brine leaking out and stuff. You don't want that in your fridge, so always put it on a tray or like in a bowl. But yeah, this is a great method.
I'm going to let these chill in the fridge for about 5 or 6 hours, and then we'll come back and cook.
I'm going to let these guys rest and watch some TV in the refrigerator for about 2 hours. Okay, now I'm going to make my
2 hours
sauce
is okay.
I use to
Overnight's
taste
better.
my pork chops. Oyster sauce, banana ketchup. Very similar to regular ketchup, but it has actually no tomatoes in it. I have sesame seed oil. Ooh, chihuahua. I could really put this on any protein. I think I'm going to reserve a little bit here for dipping, adding extra at the end. Why not?
All right, my pork chops are ready, so now it's time to fry them. I'm going to place my pork chop in the pan. Look at it. You just let them start frying up. Do you hear it? They're like, oh my God, they're having conversations. What y'all talking about? It's getting hot in here.
Before I grill the pork chops,
They definitely find people with lots of personality for these. Get some good views and stuff. It's funny.
I'm going to kind of coat this beautiful grill pan with some just oil. It's going to get a little smoky in here, so
Yeah, definitely do this outside. If you have that induction thing, I wouldn't even put it inside. I'd take it outside so you can get real hot and then get good smoke and flavor on that meat.
Prepare yourself. And away we go. Yeehaw! What?
Also, you're better off if you do have a way to grill with real wood. That's obviously going to be better with wood flavor.
And two. I love grilling any protein because I love the char that a grill gives you. I love the sizzle, and it's just enjoyable for people if you have guests.
As you can notice here, I am using a cast iron.
Yeah, as long as you're doing it outside, it's enjoyable. If you're trying to do that inside while everyone's choking to death because you got so much smoke, yeah, it's not going to work out.
And cast iron is going to give us a good sear and hold on to that
before.
heat. We're going to take our pork chops out of the brine. They smell wonderful. We're going to put them on this rack to let them drain. And even though it does have a brine on it, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Just a little. I'm going to drop these in the pan. I always drop away from me. And now we leave it alone.
I'm actually going to turn this baby up. I want it to sizzle. Whenever I put it on a pan, the temperature goes down. Let's get it back up to temp. I wish I could just take this and put this in a box.
So I kind of flip my pork chops a couple times just because I don't time anything out. If you want to get a pork chop, a fried pork chop, you got to come to somebody's house with a big mama. It takes a lot of women to be able to fry a pork chop is all I'm saying. A lot of women. Look at this.
It is looking so good. And wow!
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, that's pushing it, but, you know, a good color and stuff. But with all that sugar, you can see how dark it's getting already. If you didn't add all that sugar to the marinade, it wouldn't be so dark. You could really push it a little bit more. But burnt sugar to a point is okay. I wouldn't add it to a marinade as much as I would add it to like a glaze or something I was putting on after. So what I usually do is I put it, you know, some sort of marinade on it with less sugar, just the salt aspect of it. And then when I go to grill, I make sure I have good sear marks. And then once I'm ready to turn it up and get some darker color on it, then I start adding the glaze and adding that carefully. And then, you know, you can kind of like hedge yourself there so it doesn't get too burnt before the inside's cooked, if that makes sense. So.
At that, you guys, don't let the dark color deter you. That is what you want.
So let's give this a turn. We're getting some nice caramelization. It's a little dark, but I'm not too worried about it. That's just the sugar from the brine. And again, we're just going to kind of leave it be, let it do its thing.
The top part is pretty much cooked already. It's safe for me to baste. Okay, lovely. It's just an extra tang to this beautiful marinated pieces of pork chop.
So you see that we have this beautiful piece of fat on top. You cannot neglect that, right? So I'm going to stand them up and...
Yeah, no one wants to eat uncooked fat or unrendered fat. So rendering is when you melt the fat. It just tastes better once the fat has kind of reduced a little bit in the meat and kind of dissipated from the fat itself. So it's just a better experience.
Hold them there to make sure that that fat starts to render out and get crispy.
My ancestors would just say, do not grill this without having those beautiful sides of fat grilled as well. I'm listening to you.
Yeah,
If I poke at this and it's really still soft, that means that it's really not cooked yet. But if I poke at it and it springs back and feels a little firm, then I know that it's starting to cook up and it's starting to get the temperature that I want.
So the way I learned, actually, is from Gordon Ramsay. If you have your thumb and you touch your thumb and you're relaxed, this is rare. This meaty part of your thumb, it's rare. Then if you were to touch the first finger, that's mid-rare, medium, mid-well, as you keep going through your fingers and all the way to well done. But it's a good reference, but it's not always accurate, depending on what kind of cut you have. If it's more tender or if it's more tough, then you'll have to kind of gauge with that. The easiest and most effective way to be precise is actually a thermometer. So, but you don't usually have time to be temping every single piece. So, you know, you feel things, and at least in a kitchen, like a professional setting, you know, you feel things and you can kind of gauge that way. So as long as you temp one, and you can, what I usually do actually is I'll temp one, see how that feels. And if I can recognize the same feeling with the other pieces of meat, then I have a better gauge of what actual doneness is. So
Pork chop until it's done, please. Not pink in the middle, not all that little shishi foo foo stuff. It's a fried dish. Cook it.
Let me just show you
What I did.
beautiful, spicy,
That looks
grilled,
good.
Filipino marinated pork chops, basted in a beautiful sauce.
scroll
Now,
outside the window.
It's already looking crispy because of the egg wash. That's the secret ingredient right there. All right, you happy with your outfit? You happy? Here you go. Just drain it on the paper towel. Yes. Oh,
She looks scared of the oil.
pretty good. Pretty good. We are done.
So I'm
It's a problem with cooking, like with deep fat frying at home. Is okay, you have all this oil that's used, and what are you gonna do with it now? Like, you gotta throw it all away, or you gotta figure a way to save it without it going rancid now, with all the pork fat and stuff in there. So I don't know. Sometimes it's not worth it to deep fry. So other shallow frying, or just like, just pan searing is usually the way to go. Every once in a while, if you're like almost done with the bottle of oil, and you just deep fry it, and then you just let it cool and put it back in that bottle, and then you can discard that. That's kind of when I will deep fry, but not before that. It's just a waste.
where I want this to be, and what I'm going to do now is add some of my aromatics here, right? I have a little bit of garlic, I have some thyme sprigs, and I'm going to add some of my butter. I'm adding the whole butter in here, and I'm just going to kind of baste this over the top. And now I'm going to let them rest.
This is just pan searing 101. Like every like steak or pork chop or anything you make in a pan, they're going to put thyme and garlic and butter in it, like every video. So that's pretty common. If you go even on TikTok, there's freaking people butter basting everything. So yeah, it's really good. I overdid it for a little bit because I didn't have a grill. So I pan fried everything, and it's okay. At this point, I'm over it. I would rather have some grill flavor now.
Okay, what was that? You want me to take your temperature? 143, hello. It's fine with me.
Now I'm going to make my chimichurri.
Yeah, there's an old way of thinking in terms of pork that you need to cook it all the way, like to 165, just like chicken. It's no longer the case. I sometimes even cook pork to medium if you want to go there, but yeah, so it 145, which is technically the same temperature you're supposed to take to beef, So I mean that's a good temp.
Sauce. Now, chimichurri sauce is basically an herb sauce. It's from Central South America. What's great about this is we're going to put it on the pork chop. The oil is going to kind of drizzle over the sides and give us some of those nice herby and grassy flavors. So I'm going to use all of the scallion, the top and the bottom. And I'm just going to rough chop it. You basically just dump everything in and let it run. Garlic's going to go in. I'm using a Fresno chili here, right into my food processor. Fresh oregano. Parsley and cilantro have extremely different flavors. Then we're going to hit it with some salt and pepper. Fair amount of salt, some fresh cracked black pepper. And I find with a chimichurri sauce, if you use all extra virgin olive oil, it overpowers the whole thing, and that's all you taste. So I like to cut it with just a little bit of this. I love it.
I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe a little bit, but chimichurri, like, it's supposed to be strong. It's supposed to be really garlicky and really acidic, and you can supposed to taste the bitterness of the olive oil. You're not eating it by itself. You're putting it on meat. So I feel like you should bring all those flavors to the table instead of kind of diluting them a little bit. But this, I'm sure it's still good.
Whiz it up.
So my pork chops are draining, and now I'm going to make my gravy. What you need to do is you need to pour this oil. Keep about 2 teaspoons of oil. Dirty grease is the best grease. Add my flour. And I know this gravy master is a blast from the past, and you probably used to have like a little one, but I'm going to take a capful just for the browning. I want my gravy a little thicker, so I'm going to put a little bit more flour in it.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched some of these other videos. I don't think she's a level 1 chef. I think she's probably level 2. She has some pretty good, like home cooking right here. But yeah, definitely old school way of making thick sauces and stuff with the roux, with definitely Southern old school. Yeah.
And you just, whisk or stir. Look, my gravy has a little bit of crunch in it because we use the same pan.
What?
Yeah, when you burn the oil because you're frying so hot in a pan, it can kind of taint the sauces and stuff. So I don't know, if I wouldn't deep fry and then make a pan sauce, I would just sear, create a fond on the bottom, and then make your pan sauce out of that. That makes more sense to me because you're not getting any pork flavor in that. You're just getting, dirty oil. I don't know why she thinks that's better, but
You make a barbecue sauce. You have a universal condiment, which means you can use it on anything. Tomorrow, I will put it on my eggs and bacon.
So now it's time to plate this baby. A lot of people use applesauce on pork chops, so I just like a green apple.
I like extra sauce on everything. This looks beautiful, you guys.
So we got this beautifully fatty, crispy pork chop that we're going to take this beautiful like vinegary and herbal sauce, earthy sauce.
yeah, with that fatty, thick pork chop, you're going to need some acidity to balance that out. Otherwise, it's going to be too much. So that's what chimichurri is good for. It tastes good.
Put over the top so that when we cut into it, we're going to have a little bite of that sauce with every little bite of meat.
This is a work of art. Now I'm going to take the gravy. And these are my pork chops.
You just
And
sliced
this is my pork.
You just sliced apples and put it with the pork chops? You couldn't saute them or something? With some onion? I don't know. Maybe she has level 1. I don't know.
And this is my pork chop.
That looks good. Yeah, definitely take either 2 or 3 on that one.
Here we go, guys.
Oh my gosh.
It's juicy, it's tender. It didn't take me 20 years. The crunch makes it all the better. This is home cooking at its best.
I taste oyster sauce. I taste the sweetness from sugar, banana, ketchup. There's a little heat, but it's a controlled heat. It's a help you taste this wonderful meat heat. It's just, honestly, my heritage in a bite.
The brine does its work. It makes it super juicy. The acid and the herbs and the chimichurri complement the pork and don't take over, but it's absolutely delicious.
Yeah, she's going into a lot of in-depth stuff. You don't really need to know, I mean, you can get into the science of it, but at the end of the day, if it tastes good, it tastes good. I mean, just do the brine just like everyone else has done, and you'll be fine. It's just, I don't know. You don't really have to understand it. As long as you do it correctly, it doesn't matter.
So the flavor molecule.
Thanks for watching. Basically, I just reacted to this video, and hopefully you got some more tips and maybe some more insight in how I think in terms of cooking. Hopefully that helped you. Good video overall, though. It was a good one. So thanks for watching.